Emotional farewell. Chinese actresses in tears at Menglong's funeral. The world of Chinese entertainment came to a standstill today as the industry's brightest stars gathered beneath a leaden Shanghai sky to say goodbye to Menglong. Outside the tranquil gates of Longhua Memorial Hall, hundreds of mourners lined the streets in silence, their umbrellas trembling beneath the drizzle. The air felt heavier than the clouds themselves. Grief had a presence, almost tangible, wrapping itself around everyone who had loved, admired, or even envied the rising star. Inside the hall, white chrysanthemums framed a black and white portrait of Menglong, his smile frozen forever, eyes sparkling with the same warmth that had made millions fall for him on screen. A hush swept through the crowd as the first of the mourners stepped forward. Among them were some of China's most beloved actresses, many of whom had worked with Menglong on iconic dramas, and all of whom now found themselves clutching tissues, their glamorous facades melting into raw humanity. Tan Songyun was among the first to approach the altar. Dressed in a simple black cheongsam, her hands trembled as she placed a single white lily beside Menglong's portrait. Witnesses whispered that tears streaked her face beneath the black veil, her shoulders shaking as she whispered a private farewell. She had been his co-star in one of his earliest breakout roles, and the bond they'd shared off-camera had been one of quiet support and friendship. Song Erin followed soon after, her steps hesitant, her expression unreadable beneath the brim of her black hat. Her appearance drew hushed murmurs. After all, rumors had been swirling about her presence at Tower 7 on the night of Menglong's death. Yet here she was, standing before the coffin, lips pressed together, eyes glistening. She bowed deeply, the gesture formal yet aching with personal sorrow, then lingered a moment longer than protocol demanded. When she turned to leave, a tear slipped free, catching the light before disappearing into the darkness of her mourning attire. Bai Lu, known for her radiant smile and lively on-screen energy, collapsed briefly into the arms of a fellow actress as she reached the front. Her sobs were audible even through the murmuring crowd. "I can't believe he's gone," she was overheard saying, voice cracking. "He always said we'd work together again." The cameras, kept at a respectful distance, caught the glint of her tears, and by evening her grief would be trending across Weibo, igniting an outpouring of fan tributes and memories. As the actresses wept, Wang Yibo entered quietly through a side door, dressed in a black suit that seemed to hang heavier on his frame than usual. He paused just inside the doorway, his eyes locking on Menglong's portrait. For a long time he didn't move, just stared, lips pressed tight, fists clenched at his sides. Finally, he stepped forward, placed a single candle on the altar, and whispered something only those closest to him could hear. "I will not stop until your truth is known." The mourners watched in silence, the weight of his words thick in the air. Outside, fans lit hundreds of candles along the sidewalk, arranging them in the shape of Menglong's initials. Some sobbed quietly into each other's shoulders. Others stood still, heads bowed, as if listening for the echo of his laughter on the wind. A sudden gust blew through the open doors of the hall, flickering the candles on the altar. Several attendees later claimed they felt a strange sense of presence in that moment, as though Menglong himself was there, watching over them, urging them to remember him not through scandal or rumor, but through the joy he brought into their lives. Behind the hall, two reporters huddled under a shared umbrella, whispering furiously over a phone screen. A new anonymous message had arrived. "The funeral is not the end. Watch for the rooftop clip. They haven't shown the world the full story." The words sent shivers down their spines. Even as tears flowed inside, the undercurrent of mystery persisted, tugging at the seams of the day's solemnity. Inside, Su Kai, another of Menglong's longtime colleagues, took the microphone to deliver eulogy. His voice broke several times as he recalled their earliest days as struggling actors, sharing instant noodles on cold sets and dreaming of stardom. He believed in people, Su Kai said, staring at the coffin. Even when the world gave him reasons not to, he believed in all of us. The audience erupted into quiet sobs, tissues rustling like soft applause for Menglong's memory. The actresses, still gathered near the altar, joined hands in solidarity. Tan Songyan squeezed Song Eren's hand, a gesture that caught the attention of a few sharp-eyed onlookers. Was it forgiveness? Was it a silent plea for answers? The moment, fleeting as it was, became one of the most shared images of the day, a symbol of unity even amid swirling suspicions. As the ceremony ended, a heavy rain began to fall, drumming against umbrellas and the hall's stone steps. The actresses stepped outside together, their eyes swollen but their backs straight. They moved as a single unit, flanked by colleagues and friends, their presence a testament to the bonds Menglong had forged in life. Wang Yibo lingered at the altar long after the crowd had thinned. Alone now, he knelt beside the coffin and placed a folded letter on top of it. No one knows what he wrote, but photographers later captured the single word scrawled on the outside: promise. That image, a grieving friend, a sealed letter, a promise over a coffin, dominated the internet within hours. Fans across the world began posting their own promises: to live kindly, to support one another, to fight for truth even when it hurts. Outside the hall, the media clamored for quotes, but most actresses kept their heads bowed, choosing silence over soundbites. Only Bai Lu spoke briefly, her voice raw but firm. He was more than the rumors. Remember him for his heart. As dusk settled over Shanghai, the candles outside Longhua Memorial Hall continued to burn, their glow mirrored in the city's wet streets. In some distant apartment, perhaps in the shadowed corners of the internet, someone still held the missing piece, the unreleased footage, the secret conversation, the proof that could change everything. But for this day, the focus was on Menglong's memory, the laughter he shared on set, the kindness he showed to new actors, the quiet strength he carried even as whispers gnawed at his reputation. The actress's tears, Wang Yibo's clenched jaw, the fans' trembling hands on candlelit vigils, these were the things that turned a simple funeral into an unforgettable chapter in the saga that has consumed a nation. The storm of scandal and suspicion would resume soon enough. But under the gray Shanghai sky, as the last mourners drifted away and the final candle flickered, there was only grief, love, and the echo of Yu Menglong's voice in memory, a reminder that even in the harsh glare of fame, humanity's most fragile emotions endure. Outside Longhua Memorial Hall, the gray drizzle had turned into a gentle rain that seemed to weep with the mourners. The streetlights flickered faintly against the wet pavement as fans pressed closer to the barriers, some holding framed photos of Yu Menglong, others whispering prayers beneath their breath. The weight of the day was unmistakable, yet the world outside seemed eerily indifferent. Cars rolled past in the distance, their headlights carving through the mist, as though life outside the memorial dared to continue. Inside, the funeral hall was cloaked in white and silver silk. The air was heavy with the scent of chrysanthemums and sandalwood incense. Each petal seemed deliberate, each wisp of smoke a delicate thread tethering the living to the memory of the man they'd lost. The actresses, still in the front row, had removed their veils but not their sorrow. Their faces, usually perfected for red carpets and press junkets, were blotched with tears. They no longer carried the weight of performance, they carried grief. Tan Songyan reached out to adjust a small framed photo on the corner of the altar. It was a candid shot, Menglong laughing, head tilted back, a paper cup of coffee in his hand. "This is how he should be remembered," she whispered hoarsely to a fellow actress beside her. Her words weren't meant for the microphones or the cameras. They were meant for Menglong himself, as though he could still hear her through the veil between worlds. Song Erin stood a little apart, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. For a moment, she seemed lost in another time, perhaps recalling a late-night rap party or a shared laugh between takes. When her shoulders began to tremble, Bai Lu gently stepped beside her, looping an arm through hers. The gesture was tender but electric, a symbol of solidarity in a hall thick with suspicion and whispers. At the far end of the room, a large screen began projecting a silent slideshow of Menglong's career highlights. Clips of him in costume, his sword raised beneath a crimson sunset, his smile breaking hearts in romantic dramas, played against a backdrop of soft piano music. Every image was a dagger to the heart for those who had known him personally. Su Kai was seen biting his lip hard, struggling to stay composed, while another actor turned away to hide a fresh wave of tears. The cameras outside captured the restless crowd. Fans held up glowing phone screens displaying Menglong's name in bright characters. A group of young women sang a quiet, trembling rendition of a theme song from one of his dramas. Their voices wavered, occasionally cracking under the weight of emotion. Passers-by stopped, umbrellas sagging, drawn into the rawness of the moment. Even those who had not followed his career could sense the magnitude of the loss. Back inside, Wang Yibo stepped forward again, unable to stay seated. He walked to the coffin, his polished shoes echoing against the marble floor. He placed a second white rose beside the others, this one slightly wilted, as though he had chosen it for its imperfection. He leaned close, speaking under his breath. Though no one could hear the words, the intensity on his face told a story. Promises made, secrets held, and a determination that grief would not silence him. The room seemed to pause. Even the music from the slideshow dimmed for a moment, as if to honor the exchange between two friends, one alive, one now only memory. Bai Lu covered her mouth, her tears fresh once again. Tan Songyun bowed her head, fingers gripping her veil tightly. Song Erin closed her eyes, and for the first time since her arrival, a single sob escaped her lips. Outside, a sudden gust of wind knocked over several candles on the steps. Fans gasped as the flames sputtered, then relit as though by unseen hands. The incident sparked murmurs. It's him. Menglong is still here. It was the kind of moment that would live on in fan forums for years, a fragile, fleeting sign of presence. As the ceremony continued, an older actress, one who had once played Menglong's on-screen mother, rose to speak. Her voice was gravelly, heavy with age and grief. He was gentle, she said, gripping the podium for strength. Even when the industry was cruel, even when the rumors came, he believed that kindness would win in the end. Her words set off another ripple of tears among the actresses in the front row. The rain outside intensified, streaking the hall's windows with silver trails. As the mourners prepared to follow the coffin to its final resting place, Tan Songyun lingered behind. She bent low, her fingers brushing the edge of Menglong's portrait, and whispered something no one could hear. Song Erin watched her, eyes wide, as though trying to read the words on her lips. When the pallbearers lifted the coffin, Bai Lu broke again, burying her face in her hands. Her sobs echoed off the marble walls, raw and unfiltered. Su Kai stepped forward, wrapping an arm around her shoulders, guiding her toward the procession. Wang Yibo, meanwhile, walked beside the coffin, his jaw clenched, eyes bright with tears he refused to shed publicly. The actresses followed behind, their black dresses sweeping the floor like shadows. Outside, the fans began to sing again, this time louder, a fragile chorus against the sound of rain. Their voices rose and fell with the wind, a living eulogy for the man they'd lost. As the coffin passed through the hall's gates, some fans knelt, others raised their phones, capturing the moment for posterity. One image, snapped by a photographer in the crowd, would go viral by nightfall, a single raindrop clinging to the edge of Menglong's framed portrait, catching the light like a tear. Paired with the actress's grief-stricken faces in the background, it would be hailed as the most poignant photograph of the day, a symbol of sorrow that words could never fully express. Even as the convoy of black cars disappeared into the rain-slicked streets, many fans remained outside the memorial, candles flickering in their hands. They weren't ready to let go. And perhaps, somewhere in the misty Shanghai night, neither was Menglong.